Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain, where yes, we've got coffee in our little ghost mug, we've got books, and that was quite a large ka-thunk that I just made, but we don't have rain, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. We are talking about a book that I just finished, actually a couple hours ago, and then I started working on getting some things together for tomorrow, which I've got D&D tomorrow, and I'm making gumbo. So I am a girl from Louisiana, and I thought now that we are rolling into fall, I would make some homemade gumbo for my D&D group, and supposedly 2 of them would like to dive face first into it. However, I have told them to bring floaties. I don't want to have to dig them out later on. So I figured bring floaties. Anyway, I realized I should probably go ahead, record some episodes, get them processing and posted. I have that sort of ADHD sort of thing where it's like I start doing a thing and then I'm like, oh wait, I need to go do this first. And then I'm like, oh wait, I need to go to Target. So yeah, I'm kind of half-ass completing nothing, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So we shall see if I actually complete anything today. Crossing fingers that something gets done, because I still actually have to work on my campaign for tomorrow as well as complete a couple maps for tomorrow as well. Yikes on trikes. Anyway, diving into Little Coffee Shop of Terrors. I had so much fun with this book. It is ridiculously fun, funny. I picked it up because coffee shop, yes, 1. Spooky season, 2. As we see, I've got all my spooky vibes going on with ghosts. Wait, ghosts are over here. Little skull faces. I like, ghosts were like the thing this season. And I am not even remotely mad. Like, I went to visit my mom and she called me and she's like, hey, can you pick up something from like the Kirklands in Canton, Georgia? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, what is it? And she sent me a picture and it's like a full-size skeleton, like a 6-foot skeleton. And I'm like, Mom, I drive a Mini Cooper. How do you want me to get that in a car? So me and my brain, I'm thinking I'm going to have to strap it into the back seat. This is going to be great because if I get pulled over, I'm going to have a skeleton in the back seat just like buckled up. At least they're going to be safe, right? But anyway, the box actually fits, so no need to have skeletons buckled in. So that was the intro to my spooky season. The Little Coffee Shop of Terrors was actually really kind of super fun. It said, will true love brew in this killer coffee shop? 1 new owner, 1 hot waiter. Let's scratch the waiter because he's not a waiter, he's a barista. And 1 seriously weird coffee shop. Adele is used to being down on her luck. She's been kicked out of her latest musical theater gig. She was auditioning, so she didn't even have that gig yet. And is now it looks like the bright lights of Broadway. And it says, and when I was reading the books, it's like off Broadway, are behind her for good. So, when the opportunity comes up to take over a Brooklyn coffee shop, it feels like at least things are going her way. See, and now this is the reason I don't often read summaries or synopsises before I dive into a book. I didn't read this synopsis before I dove into the book. Otherwise, now that I'm reading it to you guys, I'm finding a lot of, things that were not correct in the synopsis. Since I just finished it at about 9 a.m. this morning, so about 3.5 hours ago, that are not correct. Okay, so don't call a barista a waiter. They are not a waiter. She was not kicked out of her later, musical theater gig. She was auditioning for something, and it was like an off Broadway, so she wasn't even, headlining for anything. She had not yet made it into the scene, and she had been trying for years. She had had a couple of okay roles, but things that kind of paid the bills, but not like nothing major. Like she wasn't like in Broadway's Lion King or Six or Wicked or anything like that. She was like she knows her songs, but nothing big. So she then gets a call from somebody and she thinks it's her mom, which is of course why she feels like she fails this audition because her phone rings in the middle of this audition. So womp womp. The director or pretty much the casting guy takes out a big red pen. He's like, "Rah, rah." So she doesn't get the gig. And later on, answers the phone, thinks it's her mom. It's not her mom. It's some sort of lawyer telling her, hey, you need to come down to my office. Somebody's left you something, so you need to come down and figure this out. Next morning, goes down 8 a.m. She's running a little late, but that's fine. And they're like, hey, it's your great aunt Dora Lee has left you her quote unquote estate. And the more or less stipulation of this estate was that it was going to go to someone who was in a similar situation to Dora Lee. Was that Dora Lee had tried to go onto Broadway, it never worked out, and she ended up opening a coffee shop in a neighborhood in like Brooklyn. Well, it's not working out for Adele, so Dora Lee, like lawyer, finds Adele and says, "Hey, you kind of fit the mold of what Dora Lee felt like who Dora Lee felt like she wanted to give it to. The only stipulation is this dude Ben has to stay with the coffee shop, and you have to stay for a year. And I don't want you to like pretty much change too much. Don't change too much is really kind of the thing. I think there were like 3 different stipulations. He gets to stay rent free, you can't kick him out, and you have to stay for like a year. Something kind of along those lines. Well, she's not doing anything else with her life. She was kind of living in the kitchen of someone else's, subletting or subrenting someone else's kitchen space for the most part. And so she's like, you know what? Heck it. I don't have anything else going on. I have no roles at this time. Going to go for it. So she gets to the coffee shop. And it's pretty quaint, a little retro. It's called Riff Raff. And apparently Ben, who is the barista that comes along with this coffee shop, the one she cannot get rid of, is this kind of smoldering, big, beefy hunk of an Australian barista. And so she instantly kind of gets this like eye candy crush on this guy. I mean, I get it. Like, if he's hot, he's hot. But she also kind of realizes, okay, well, he's my employee, so I should probably no go on kind of crossing employer-employee boundaries. But she also starts to realize a lot of things are antiquated with this coffee shop. The point of sale system, I was going to say the POS, but that is the point of sale system, which is the register system, is not, it's antiquated, so you do a lot of hand receipts and things of that nature with the register system. So she wants to get that a little more digitalized so that the record keeping is more up to date, because she does realize that they are losing money. And Ben is very secretive with their roasting. And he comes up with their names and all this sort of stuff. So she kind of has a couple questions when it comes to the roasting, but he won't let her down in the basement. That's where the roaster is, and he tends to keep that very close to the vest. As time progresses, she realizes there's a lot of quirks associated with this coffee shop. She also meets this guy named Donnie, and Donnie right off the bat is a turd. I just don't like him. Now, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, my personal thought was this book is Little Shop of Horrors meets, let's see, kind of Little Shop of Horrors, and I'm trying to think, like, there was another one I had in my mind, but it'll come to me, because there were two different situations that I was like, okay, this is these two situations kind of meeting together. Um, let's just say there's a reason it's called Little Coffee Shop of Terrors, and people do go missing, and it becomes clear about 2/3 of the way through the book what's going on. Sweeney Todd. So it is a little Sweeney Todd meets Little Shop of Horrors, which makes sense if you've kind of calculated in that whole theater vibe. Um, and I don't know if, like, that's, like, I think that was intended, is kind of creating that sort of theater vibe. I will say, if I'm going to give it a critique, and I had a lot of fun with this book. I used to be a barista. There's a reason this channel is called Coffee Books and Rain. One of my first coffee jobs was coffee shops, and I loved it. Loved it, loved it. Coffee is in my blood, always. Like, I don't try not to go a day without coffee. Yes, I have a problem. Yes, I acknowledge coffee is an issue for me, and it will always be an issue for me. But I love coffee shops. I want to open a coffee shop when I, like, retire from my current career. However, this coffee shop definitely has a lot going on, and that lends to the fact that this book has a lot going on. There are a lot of characters to try to keep up with, and it gets a little heavy-handed with trying to keep up with all these different characters. There's a plant character, like there's a plant lady and a tie-dye lady and this person and cookie person and a chocolate person and a this person, and I think that was probably my biggest critique for this book. There's too much going on in such a, what I would say, a 300-page book. Now, it's funny because Goodreads calls this book a romance. I would actually call it romance. I would say there's a little bit of, maybe a little bit of magical realism. I mean, mystery? I don't know. General fiction may be a better one, if not a little bit of mystery general realism. But the romance is very light. That would be my general perspective on this. If you pick this up thinking romance, you're probably going to be disappointed. There's no spicy scenes. There is a little bit of sad moment towards the end, especially if you kind of start to, I don't want to say bond with the characters, because there is quite a few characters going on. But you do get some regulars that you become familiar with. So just kind of keeping that in mind. I will say that I thought it was super cute, but I don't think romance would be the right genre for this. Again, because there's just not enough of it. So general fiction is probably the better genre for it. Because, again, you have a coffee shop that is mysterious in a lot of different ways. You have mysterious disappearances. You have a mysterious reason why that I really don't want to, like, I think if I've told you that it's Sweeney Todd meets Little Shop of Horrors, you may be able to extrapolate on why. And if you read it, I think you'll also understand why that makes sense. But I'm going to leave that up to you to figure out. I do think it was a pretty cute read as well. This book comes out September 12th, so I'm going to try to release this probably in the next day or two, so you guys can, like, maybe listen to this review and see what you think. Again, a very light read, very fun read, but just be aware, if you do decide to put this on your TBR, you're gonna encounter a lot of characters, and Donnie is a big fat turd. Don't believe anything he says, and just understand that Adele takes his recommendations way too literally, and she don't need all that. Like, she don't need this, like, algorithmic ambiance mix. She don't need this eat me system that spits out tickets. I think it's like a mobile ordering system, but they don't need that at this tiny coffee shop. It's just not necessary. They were not ready for that whole scenario. That was a travesty. And there were a couple other things that weren't really working. I think she should have really kind of sat with it and done it the way that she felt better about doing it. But anyway, let me know what you think down below. Let me know if this is a book that you might be interested in reading, and I will see you guys on the next page, and I hope you have a great one. Bye.